Hello, welcome to my channel. I checked my fabric stash recently and I found some forgotten fabric. I have about 5 or even 6 meters of this cotton linen blend and I think it's finally time to make something out of this. So my plan is a maxi dress with princess seams, short sleeves and a nice little lace-up detail in the front. So, as always, the pattern is available on my website for free. Let's grab it and start sewing. Okay, go to my website, that's dressdeveloper.de, and click on pattern kits. Here you have a Princessline dress. And for the basic form, I select the English seams. That means the seam will run from the shoulder all the way down to the hem. I want a quite long dress, so I set the model length to 130 centimeters. I increase the fit category to 5. The fit category defines the amount of ease in the pattern, so the higher number will result in a larger ease. And then I increase the flare amount on the hem as well. For a nice flowy skirt, I select the short sleeves. And I go for the flat sleeve head, which will result in a wider arm. And I add additional 2 centimeters to the sleeve head. These centimeters will be not exactly gathered, but eased into the arm side, so the sleeve fits a bit more comfortably. And then neckline, round neckline is fine. And for closure, I go for the slit it front neck and no additional closure. So I will not put a zipper in here. With this setting, the waist will be increased a bit so you can pull the dress comfortably over your head. Pockets. Of course I want pockets, what a question. Now I select a size. Here you can also upload your own measure set with your very own measurements. And then I select a seam allowance. Paper format is fine. And then I can create a pattern. Takes a little moment. There we go. So here is the cover of a pattern with all the options we just set. And here is a preview for the printing layout, so you know how you should assemble the pattern. And the pattern is here, all ready for printing. Okay, I need to correct myself. I have only 4 meters of fabric, but I was able to fit all the main pattern pieces onto this. So very, very close fit. I don't have enough fabric for the hem facings, but I think I can make this work. Let's cut. Nice camera work. You can't see a single thing. Just pretend I just cut everything and we jump into assembly. As first step, I sew the 2 neckline facings together. After that, I finish the outer edge of the facing and most of the pattern pieces with a serger. You can use a zigzag stitch if you don't have a serger. You might notice that I didn't interface the facing. Well, I kinda regret this now, because I'm a bit scared that the eyelets will rip out. So learn from my mistakes and always interface your facings. Over the bust, I clip the seam allowance a bit before serging. This will help to flatten the seam allowance later when pressing. I like to fully assemble my pockets before I attach them to the dress. I sew around the curved edges of the pocket. The seam allowance at the opening is left unstitched. Then I assemble the front and back piece by sewing the panels together. Then I serge the shoulders and stitch them together. The facing is placed on top of a neck hole and pinned. Then I stitch all around the facing and down the slit in the front. I keep a distance of 5 to 7 millimeters to the center. At the bottom I taper to the center, then pivot the dress and sew up again. The slit gets cut open all the way down as far as possible without hurting the seam. Then I trim the corners and all around the neck opening. I also cut little slits in the seam allowance so everything will lay nice and smooth when I turn the facing inside out. Then I flip the facing to the inside and I use my sewing machine stylus to poke the edges out. I was too lazy to get up and get a different tool. It worked. I wiggle everything in place and clip all around. I sew the facing down by hand and I try to only catch 1 or 2 threads of the outer fabric, so the seam is basically invisible from the outside. Time to set in the sleeves. I begin with sewing a line of gathering stitches along the sleeve head. Then I line up all the notches and pin the sleeve in place. Then I pull on the gathering stitches to ease the sleeve into the armscye. I try to avoid visible gathering. The part is cut off here. Then I sew the sleeve in place, first with a sewing machine and then with a serger. The side seams of the sleeves and the dress itself get sewn in one go. About 1 hand's width below the waist, I leave an opening for the pockets. Again, this dress has no zipper, so if you are interested in learning how to install these, I will link another video of mine where I go through this in depth. Speaking of pockets, let's install these. So I basically place the pockets over the opening in the side, and then I sew the seam allowance of a pocket to the seam allowance of a dress. Since I don't have the hem facings, I will simply serge the bottom and fold it up and stitch it in place. The hem of the sleeves gets turned under twice and stitched in place too. Now I need a cord for the lace-up detail. I tried to sew a tube and turn it inside out, but that was a disaster. So I'm just folding a 2 cm strip of fabric to the center twice and stitch on the edge. You can probably press this. Might have been a better idea to do this before, but it did work out somehow. All what's left to do is to add some grommets. First I punch a hole in the fabric, and then I add a top and a bottom part of a grommet and squeeze it together. But the final test was definitely the lacing layout. I don't know why this took me so long. I just couldn't imagine how I wanted the cords to look. But finally I figured it out. And then the dress was complete. So, final thoughts. I just love these Princessline dresses. I could make a dozen more. I really wish I had interfaced the facing, because the grommets, I do hope they don't rip out. I do like the length of the dress. I imagined it to be a bit longer, but since the pattern pieces fit so perfectly on the fabric, I won't complain. And the skirt, well, swoosh test passed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I had fun making it, and I'm looking forward to see you soon. Bye!